Let's bring in Mr. Paul Makube, who is an FNB Agricultural Economist. Mr. Makube, thank you so much for your time. A very good afternoon to you. So the extended 2022 ban to 2025 now by our neighbors Botswana and Namibia on some of our produce, including now citrus, has quite raised some eyebrows, especially with the scope now being further extended to include oranges. Should we be worried, and more especially those farmers who actually produce these products?
Thank you very much, and good afternoon to your viewers. Yeah, definitely it's actually a worrying trend. We had the ban, and it looked like it's something that was going to be like once off, and it goes off. You then have a surprise, announcement of a ban as well, and including more products, which means that it gradually becoming a trend in terms of closing of borders, which is not sustainable in a long term given the relations, but also agreements that are already there in terms of the region.
Mm-hmm. And we understand that at this stage, our government is currently in negotiations, as you heard the Minister of Agriculture, John Steenhuisen, with the relevant officials from both these countries in order to try and discuss the potential negative impact on trade relations between these two. So maybe help us understand in detail what these could be.
Yes, obviously, it's understanding exactly what is Botswana's standpoint is, and also in Namibia. There are remedies that are available that can be explored in terms of internal arrangements that are not necessarily trade restrictive. Or do not, impugn on fair trade. Any ban, is negative to the importing, to the exporting producers, especially where there has been historical, trade that has been there for years. And if you look at the agreement, the only thing plausible, but which is not close to this at the moment, is the issue of national security. Now, if you are increasing your output, it does not necessarily mean that it is a national security issue, and you do not necessarily have to close the borders and restrict competition between the local and an imported product. In terms of support, there are some support measures that they have embarked upon to actually encourage production in their country, to actually boost output, and it's every country has a right to do so. But in terms of competition, there are international rules in terms of how we can engage. There are WTO rules, there are SACI rules in terms of agreements that are there for us to actually trade, because we are not only trading on vegetables, there are other products that we're trading with, and therefore it is important that we have a very harmonious neighborly trading regime, and we don't violate, but also understand the predicament that others face. But if those are communicated timelessly, there shouldn't be a problem in terms of reaching an agreement. What is important for farmers is to have certainty about the policy environment in terms of the trade from that side, so that they don't necessarily have to, during the time when they have just harvested, and then they face a trade ban. That is not, that is not, fair, but also that it actually, negative for farmers given the revenues that might be lost as a result of the ban.
That's exactly what I wanted to say, Paul. I mean, the revenue losses that have already been incurred by South African farmers. But I wanted to ask, what are the other implications then of this ban for producers as well as emerging producers, that is farmers of these products, not just in South Africa, but also the countries concerned as well? Because we're also getting reports already that these farmers in Botswana as well as Namibia are already experiencing shortages due to the ban.
Yeah, obviously, to the consumer, it becomes difficult because you actually restricting, choice for them. And obviously, in terms of availability, you are creating an artificial, shortage, and it actually hurts the consumer. So the consumer does not benefit, from that kind of arrangement. And also in the long term, that may come in at a cost as well when you start opening the markets for the product to come in. So the consumer is at a disadvantage, and the country consumer is at a disadvantage. But also on the other side, from the exporting country, which is South Africa, the farmers will be feeling the pinch because on their side they have to now start redirecting the produce to different markets, which may include local market and other export markets. But I mean, if you are committed already in terms of other export markets, especially internationally, then you have that kind of limitation that you will start, having to redirect and start flooding the local market, or look for alternatives which may not necessarily arise in the short term. So that's the constraint that farmers will face.
It's very concerning indeed, Paul, because I mean, I think looking at the reasons that were given by the Botswana president was that this move was to actually boost local farmers as well as the economy, and it's not based on malice. I mean, as we're seeing this broader trend under, of course, back to your earlier reference, and even John Steenhuisen, the SACU, the Southern African Customs Union region, which actually allows for such restrictions to happen or take place, but under very strict and certain circumstances.
Yeah, definitely. And that's why the authorities have to, engage and obtain reasons why there's this particular matter. And I mean, as I mentioned, closer to what could justify the ban would be national security. But if you have increased your output, you've got availability on the domestic market, and therefore that produce must be subject to fair competition with the imported product. The only issue is if the product is dumped, and that's there are remedies that you can apply to indicate that this particular this is unfair trade, that the imported product is dumped on the local market. We have experience with that. We have the poultry situation where the industry applied for that and for the restrictions due to dumping, and that was done, and that was done lawfully with communication with research information that has provided that an indication. So in this case, boosting domestic production, could be done by internal support measures that the country is at liberty to use to actually support the farmers to actually increase output. But from a trade perspective, you do not interfere in the market to try to boost production. That is not a very strategic tool to use to try to raise domestic production.
Absolutely, Paul. And I suppose we'd be feeling better if, there was criticism around the quality or the grade of the product that actually led to these bans. But it's actually not related to that. Paul, thank you so much for your contribution this afternoon. That is Mr. Paul Makube, the FNB Agricultural Economist.